Yeah, I wanted to start off this video by saying I'm trying to get out of politics on this channel. I'm trying to mosey on out of politics and work more to more constructive means of lifting up America. But the fact of the matter is, this crap is so retarded that you can't ignore it. I mean, this is how ridiculous this country has gotten, okay? We are now operating at the level of a third world country because of the way it's been run for the past. And it's not just Trump. You're talking about Obama and Trump, okay? And then somebody, like on Twitter, people are talking about how Biden says he's going to, put Latin Americans and, or Latino Americans, as he calls them, Black Americans and Asian Americans first. Okay, so he'll be doing exactly what Obama and Trump did, okay? What people don't understand is this. And I'm not making this video to cause any type of uprising or anything like that. And I'm going to explain why. This video is about how to appropriately deal with the anti-white hysteria coming out of the media and coming out of the politicians like Nancy Pelosi. Okay, so how it works is this, is you have the majority of the United States population. I believe white people are still at least 60% of the population. I don't know. I'll probably leave a link to something, some type of metric in the bottom, but I think we're still 60% of the population. On my census thing, I'm recorded as white Hispanic. Because of my mother's Brazilian heritage, I put down white Hispanic. It helps you get the jobs if you need to. But my point is that you can't have 60% of the U.S. population being ostracized, being discriminated against in hiring and promotion, having zero representation in either the Republican or the Democratic Party. You can't have that. And that's one of the things I liked about Tulsi Gabbard is Tulsi Gabbard, I'm not saying that anybody should have extra validation or extra representation. And that's what I liked about Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard offered fair and balanced representation of Americans as Americans. And what's funny is people know I promote the concepts of La Raza Cosmica laid out by Jose Vasconcelos and what I call post-racial eugenics, what he calls La Raza Cosmica. But my point is that I'm not some kind of crazy redneck on here, but the fact of the matter is when my people are being when being white, when looking like me, is being equated with being anti-American by the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, it's dangerous. And what this does is it causes people to become radicalized. What's insane is this. Okay, now police are heroes. They're saying, I'm going to leave an article, a link to an article on the bottom that says, Hero police officer leads rioters away from Capitol. Okay, so now police are heroes, but when BLM and Antifa had taken over a large chunk of Seattle and were calling it the Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, police were the bad guys. They were pigs in a blanket and everybody wanted to fry them like bacon. Okay? And I don't even like police. That's the most difficult part of this whole thing. I'm not a fan of the police. I really am not. But people are like, oh, well, you must be a fan of the police because you want the police armed with as much non-lethal and lethal firearms and tasers and I do. And I'm gonna do a video about all the amendments I would make to the Constitution. Not after this one, but it will be soon. And the reason why is because people are freaking stupid and they don't understand. This country did not stop in 1776. This is why you can amend the Constitution to do things, to keep certain people from getting their hands on firearms and things like that. That's why it is like this. And people go, that's not very third positionist of you. Yes, it is third positionist of me. It's not Republican of me, although it is Republican of me because I support this republic. That's the whole thing. Now, the problem is, you have the political class ostracizing white people. And the people that stormed the Capitol, as I told Nancy Pelosi on Twitter and gave her the pictures of the blacks and some guy that I think he was like Pakistani or something, the people that stormed the Capitol were Trump supporters. Jews for Trump was heavily represented. Okay, and I'm going to leave a link to what Jews for Trump is. I hope it doesn't get taken down, because every time I leave a link to something Jewish, it gets taken down for some reason, because YouTube doesn't like that apparently. But my point is the people that stormed the Capitol were not white supremacists. They were Trump supporters. Okay? And yeah, I'm against the use of the Confederate flag. I think the Confederacy, and I've had family that fought on the side of the Confederacy, but the Confederacy was a failed rebellion, a wrong rebellion. People that say it wasn't about slavery are stupid. It was about slavery. Slavery is wrong. Okay? Taking away somebody's human dignity is wrong. But that's exactly what the politicians, Nancy Pelosi on down, are doing when they're equating being white with being anti-American, which is exactly what they're doing. Okay? So by further ostracizing these people, do you really think you're going to make headway by further ostracizing 60% of the population, further attacking 60% of the population, making 60% of the population feel guilty about things they didn't do? Okay, do you really think that's going to turn out well? And that's the problem, is you're causing your own radicalization of the U.S. population. This isn't taking place in Libya or Lebanon or any of the other countries we go to war with for no good reason because Israel says so. This is taking place in the United States. You are actively radicalizing the majority of the population. And the left has radicalized segments of the population. They radicalized the homosexuals, the LGBTQIAPZ, whatever it is now. They radicalized them. They purposely radicalized the black community over the years, which is why we have Black Lives Matter. Wanting to get rid of the nuclear family, wanting to destroy America. That's what Black Lives Matter is about. If they took it down from their website, but that's what they were about, was pushing Marxism, pushing the destruction of the nuclear family, and basically stealing everything that white people had and taking it from them. That's what Black Lives Matter was about. It's not anymore now that it's been cleaned up by the Soros Foundation and whatnot, but that's what it was about. Okay, and then on top of that, you have Antifa. Antifa was justified as freedom fighters. They were, the media was saying two things. Number one, Antifa doesn't exist. Number two, they can't be that bad because they're anti-fascist. Well, I can say I'm against people that eat puppies and kittens, and just, if I don't like somebody, I can say, oh, you're a puppy eater, you're a kitten eater, I'm going to get you. That's what Antifa's doing. But that's fine. This is the thing. During the 2016 election, when Antifa was thumping old people, elderly people, thumping homeless black men that supported Trump, and you had black youths cutting into white retarded people's heads. Somebody that was mentally retarded was abused on Facebook Live by a group of black teenagers. None of this was handled the way that this nonsense at the Capitol was being handled. And I believe every person involved in that should get life in prison for treason. But so should all of these people. All of these people that have been burning U.S. cities to the ground. Look at the Minneapolis riots. I made a whole video about this already. But look at the way Black Lives Matter and Antifa have behaved. And there was no outrage from the Capitol. In fact, what was there? Nancy Pelosi wants the flag lowered to half-staff for that police officer that was killed. Why don't they dress in police uniforms and boogie down like they did for George Floyd? They're not going to do that. They're not going to do that for a guy that, risked his life and did die to protect these idiots that are at the Capitol. Okay, and that's what's so frustrating. But what I do want to do is, the appropriate way to deal with this is not to get outraged. The appropriate way to deal with this is to understand, and I'm going to make a more calm video about this too. It's to understand that white Americans don't need to get radicalized. They need to get organized. We've seen a lot of headway made by social democrats, such as I would even say Tulsi Gabbard might be considered a social democrat, but also Bernie Sanders, Alexandria Cortez, Ilhan Omar. That these people have made headway with their further to the left politics, and I think that honestly, white folks need to stop saying it's about being white, and they need to start promoting Americanism. They need to start pointing out that we need to get rid of things that ostracize people based on their race, gender, sexual orientation, etc. Get rid of these affirmative action programs. Get rid of these things and let people make this a meritocracy again. Allow businesses that don't want to bake a lesbian wedding cake, maybe they don't have to. This is the stuff that we need to be running on. We don't need to be running on these idiotic conspiracy theories. Trump betrayed everyone in this country. He betrayed the white working poor. I will leave a link to a playlist I made called Donald Trump is a Communist about the things that he did. Donald Trump has sacrificed, he has ostracized the majority of this population and radicalized the majority of this population, and somehow still holds sway over a large portion of the population of this country. I don't think that banning him on social media is going to do much more than make him a martyr. Because a lot of his supporters, like me, I'm not one of his supporters, but I was, but a lot of us are ostracized and kicked off of social media. I would recommend everybody go onto LinkedIn. I'm having a lot of luck on LinkedIn, which is a job site. They don't censor anything. You can say what you want on LinkedIn, and it's still a pretty well-respected platform. I have well over 1,000 connections on LinkedIn that see everything I post, that see my reason when I'm reasoning out why these things are bad. I put myself on there as a Pan-American justicialist vlogger, and people pay attention to what I say on there a lot more than they did on Twitter or Facebook. People actually take you seriously if you go on there and act professionally, instead of acting like a maniac. So I do encourage people to start looking at things like LinkedIn. Don't be going on Parler or Gab or any of these things that aren't going to exist next week because the government shuts them down. Go on something that's a mainstream social media platform. LinkedIn is a mainstream social media platform. It does not censor you like Facebook or Twitter. Okay? And the other thing is, and I'm still on Twitter, that's how I follow these idiot politicians. But the fact of the matter is, white Americans need to understand that they need to start promoting Americanism, not this crazy kooky crap. But to say that the people that stormed the Capitol were white supremacists is an outrage, because they were not white supremacists. There were obviously many people of color there. And beyond that, the Jews for Trump has been a huge force for Trump, which is, it's funny because, you know, I don't understand that. I really don't understand why a lot of Donald Trump supporters that understand certain things would continue to support Donald Trump after seeing how much he's supported by Zionists. And he had two Zionist handlers, in my opinion. His daughter and her husband, who were his main advisors, are literally Zionists and crazy New York City-style leftists. They were his top advisors, which is probably why he passed these crazy laws like the First Step Act and things of that nature, and why he passed that executive order to keep police from being able to arrest people, from using proper force to arrest people. And it's funny because everybody, you know, a couple months ago, the police were the bad guys. This happens, and it gets rid of the defund the police nonsense, and it starts making people understand that the police have a job to do. And like I said, I don't even like police. But when you start seeing this kind of ridiculousness, somebody has to say something about it, or it will continue. And that's the thing. If you want to defeat Donald Trump ideologically, you don't do it by shutting him down. Okay? How you do it is you do it by reasoning and showing the unreasonability of him. I had it rough because I was a hardcore Trump supporter in 2016, and so was someone else I knew. And this person supported Donald Trump right up to maybe 2 months ago because of the COVID-19 crisis that he's doing nothing about. I mean, like what's funny is we have so many people go, it's got to be fake. Why is the United States the only country with these high death rates? And we're the only country that has done virtually nothing to suppress this thing. Okay, and then we have riots like the Capitol Hill riot, the BLM riots, the Trump rallies. We have all these what they call super spreader events that nobody's doing a damned thing about. And then people wonder, it's all made up. No, it's not made up. The problem is, the reason that we're so disproportionately hit by this crap in the United States is because the United States government hasn't done a damned thing about it. They didn't do anything about it. Other countries are giving people nutraceutical bundles to treat themselves. I'm going to leave a link to an interview with Dr. Bregan, and he has an interview with a gentleman. And I'm going to leave a link to what the nutraceuticals are that other countries are giving their populations to help them deal with the symptoms of COVID-19 instead of just locking them in a hospital to die like we're doing in this country primarily. Okay? That's how we're treating this. Oh, you have COVID? You can't get help unless you're dying. Oh, you're dying? We're going to put you in a respirator and lock you in a room. That's how it's being dealt with because of the great leadership of the idiot that runs this country. For now. But I don't have many hopes for Joe Biden. I did have hope for Tulsi Gabbard, but Joe Biden is a member of the establishment. He's a little bit more sensible than Donald Trump, but I don't see anything happening that's going to be worthwhile. He's like everyone else in the Senate and in Congress. I mean, you have to understand he's a career politician. And Donald Trump, who was supposed to be the anti-politician, is more of a politician than any of the politicians are. People say drain the swamp. He is the swamp. Look at all the people he's appointed. Number 1 and 2 are Jared Kushner and Jared Kushner's wife that are his top advisors. Who remembers why we attacked Syria? Do you remember? Because Donald Trump said Ivanka cried. And then Ann Coulter pointed out, I liked Ann Coulter's thing, Ivanka cried and people died. Remember Bush lied and people died? Well, Ivanka cried and people died. You know what I mean? It's a big joke. Now, who's a worse president? George W. Bush that launched the Iraq War on the back of the fact that he might have been given not so accurate intelligence by the intelligence agencies, or Donald Trump, who was giving accurate information by numerous intelligence agencies dealing with COVID and ignored it because Jared Kushner told him to ignore it, or the fact that he launches an attack that actually killed Syrian civilians because Ivanka cried and then blah, 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 children of God horse shit. You know what I'm saying? So people need to get their heads out of their asses and see what's really going on. But by blacking him out on Twitter and all these other things, all you're going to do is make these conspiracy nutcases basically double down on their stupid nonsense and say, well, this just proves it. This just proves everything we were saying. It's like, no, dude, you got to defeat him ideologically. You got to show that he's wrong. And yeah, there's a lot of people that are just too damn dumb. If anything, what this shows is the dangers of democracy. How stupid people elect other stupid people and then want to keep those stupid people in office because they can relate to that stupid person. We saw this with Obama. We saw a lot of it with Obama with the duh, and now we have more of it with Bush, with Trump. Why did I say Bush? I was thinking about Bush because everybody thought Bush was stupid. Bush was not as dumb as people think. I mean, his smarter brother was named Jeb, but he is not as dumb as people think. My point is, people need to pull their heads out of their ass and see what's going on. That's all. And I'm going to make another video, more calm, more relaxed, about how to respond to this hysteria, this anti-white hatred coming out of the Capitol, and what we can do to quell that and to make people understand, being white is not a hate crime. Being white is not synonymous with what do you call it? Being white is not synonymous with being anti-American. And the people that stormed the Capitol were not white supremacists, which has become a very easy thing to use to ostracize the public. No, the people that stormed the Capitol were Trump supporters.